Pale fire, Canto 3. If lifeless tree, your great maybe, Rabelais, the grand potato, IPH, they lay, Institute I of preparation P, for the hereafter, H, or if as we called it, big if, engaged me for one term to speak on death, to lecture on the worm, wrote President McAver, you and I, and she, then a mere tot, moved from new Y to U-shade in another higher state. I love great mountains. From the iron gate of the ramshackle house we rented there, one saw a snowy form so far, so fair, that one could only fetch a sigh as if it might assist assimilation. IPH was a larvorium and a violet, a grave in reason's early spring, and yet it missed the gist of the whole thing. It missed what interests the preterist, for we die every day. Oblivion thrives, not on dry thigh bones, but on blood-ripe lives. And our best yesterdays are now foul piles of crumpled names, phone numbers, and foxed files. I'm ready to become a floweret or a fat fly, but never to forget. And I'll turn down eternity unless the melancholy and the tenderness of mortal life, the passion and the pain, the claret tail light of that dwindling plane off Hesperus, your gesture of dismay on running out of cigarettes, the way you smile at dogs, the trail of silver slime snails leave on flagstones, this good ink, this rhyme, this index card, this slender rubber band, which always forms when dropped an ampersand, are found in heaven by the newly dead, stored in its stronghold through the years instead. The Institute assumed it might be wise not to expect too much of paradise. What if there's nobody to say hello to the newcomer? No reception, no indoctrination. What if you are tossed into a boundless world, your bearings lost, your spirit stripped and utterly alone, your task unfinished, your despair unknown, your body just beginning to tress, a non-undressable and mourning dress, your widow lying prone on a firm bed, herself a blur in your dissolving head, while snubbing gods, including the big G. IPH borrowed some peripheral debris from mystic visions, and it offered tips, the amber spectacles for life's eclipse, how not to panic when you're made a ghost, sidle and slide, choose a smooth surd and coast, meet solid bodies and glissade right through, or let a person circulate through you, how to locate in blackness with a gasp, Terra the fair, an orbicle of jasp, how to keep sane in spiral types of space, precautions to be taken in the case of freak reincarnation, what to do on suddenly discovering that you are now a young and vulnerable toad, plump in the middle of a busy road, or a bear cub beneath a burning pine, or a book mite in a revived divine. Time means succession, and succession change. Hence, timelessness is bound to disarranged schedules of sentiment. We give advice to widower. He has been married twice. He meets his wives, both loved, both loving, both jealous of one another. Time means growth. And growth means nothing in Elysian life. Fondling a changeless child, the flax-haired wife grieves on the brink of a remembered pond full of a dreamy sky, and also blonde, but with a touch of tawny in the shade, feet up, knees clasped on a stone balustrade, the other sits and raises a moist gaze toward the blue, impenetrable haze. How to begin? Which first to kiss? What toy to give the babe? Does that small, solemn boy know of the head-on crash which on a wild March night killed both the mother and the child? And she, the second love, with instep bare and ballerina black, why does she wear the earrings from the other's jewel case? And why does she avert her fierce young face? For as we know in dreams, from dreams, it is so hard to speak to our dear dead. They disregard our apprehension, our greasiness, our shame, the awful sense that they're not quite the same. And our school chum killed in distant war is not surprised to see us at his door, and in a blend of jauntiness and gloom, points at the puddles in his basement room. But who can teach the thoughts we should roll call when morning finds us marching to the wall? Under the stage direction of some goon, political, some uniform baboon, we'll think of matters only known to us, empires of crime, Indies of calculus. Listen to the distant cocks crow and discern upon their rough gray wall a rare wall fern. And while our royal hands are being tied, taunt our inferiors, cheerfully deride the dedicated imbeciles, and spit into their eyes just for the fun of it. Nor can one help the exile, the old man, dying in a motel with the loud fan revolving in the torrid prairie night, and from the outside, bits of colored light reaching his bed like dark hands from the past, offering gems, and death is coming fast. He suffocates and conjures in two tongues the nebulae dilating in his lungs. A wrench, a rift, that's all one can foresee. Maybe one finds the grandiance, maybe one again spirals from the tuber's eye. As you remarked the last time we went by the Institute, I could not really tell the difference between this place and hell. We heard cremationists guffaw and snort at Graberman's denouncing the retort as detrimental to the birth of wraiths. We all avoided criticizing faiths. The great Star Over Blue reviewed the role planets had played as landfalls of the soul. The fate of beasts was pondered. A Chinese descanted on the etiquette at teas with ancestors and how far up to go. I tore apart the fantasies of Poe and dealt with childhood memories of strange, nacreous gleams beyond the adult's range. Among our auditors were a young priest and an old communist. IPH could at least compete with churches and the party line. In later years, it started to decline. Buddhism took root, a medium smuggled in, pale jellies and a floating mandolin. Fra Karamazov, mumbling his inept all is allowed, into some classes crept. And to fulfill the fish wish of the womb, a school of Freudians headed for the tomb. That tasteless venture helped me in a way. I learnt what to ignore in my survey of death's abyss and when we lost our child. I knew there would be nothing, no self-styled spirit who would touch a keyboard of dry wood to rap out her pet name. No phantom would rise gracefully to welcome you and me in the dark garden near the shagbark tree. What is that funny creaking? Do you hear? It is the shutter on the stairs, my dear. If you're not sleeping, let's turn on the light. I hate that wind. Let's play some chess. All right. I'm sure it's not the shutter. There, again. Again. It's a tendril fingering the pane. What gilded on the roof and made that thud? It is old winter tumbling in the mud. And now what shall I do? My night is pinned. Who rides so late in the night and the wind? It is the writer's grief. It is the wild March wind. It is the father with his child. Later, came minutes, hours, whole days at last, when she'd be absent from our thoughts. So fast did life the woolly caterpillar run. We went to Italy, sprawled in the sun, on a white beach with other pink or brown Americans. Flew back to our small town, found that my bunch of essay, The Untamed Seahorse, was universally acclaimed. It sold 300 copies in 1 year. Again, school started, and on hillsides where wound distant roads, one saw the steady stream of car lights, all returning to the dream of college education. You went on, translating into French, Marvel, and Don. It was a year of tempests, hurricane, Lolita swept from Florida to Maine. Mars glowed, Shahs married, gloomy Russians spied, Lang made your portrait, and one night I died.